Hi, mission revealed here. Today I'm going to explain the American science fiction film E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Released in the year 1982. Let's get started. In a starry night sky, a spacecraft makes contact with the Earth. From it descends a group of aliens who begin to gather samples of vegetation. Instantly, government agents appear and the aliens immediately flee in their spacecraft but leave one of them behind without realizing it. Later, a boy named Elliott asks his brother Michael and his friends to let him play Dungeons and Dragons with them, but they make it a condition to go get the pizza. With the pizza in his hands, Elliott hears a noise and thinks it's his dog, Harvey. He goes out to look for him, but discovers something frightening in the shed and runs off to find his family. When he arrives, he tells everyone what he has seen and they go out together to investigate. When they arrive, they only find some footprints and deduce that it was only a coyote. When they leave, E.T. peeks out. Before going to sleep, Elliott decides to take one look at the tracks they found in the shed. As he follows them, he encounters E.T. and runs off, although he is astonished. The next morning, Elliott goes into the woods and traces a candy trail home to see E.T. again. That same night, Elliott stays up all night outside his house waiting for the alien, and when he appears, he returns his candy. Then, Elliott decides to take him to his room by making a candy trail again. Once there, Elliott makes movements for the alien to imitate. In this way, they communicate. At the same time, government agents investigate the area where the alien was seen and discover the candy trail Elliott made. The next morning, Elliott pretends to be sick to stay and play with E.T. He shows him some things from his room and fixes him something to eat. Later, his brother Michael comes into his room and Elliott makes him promise to show him E.T. if he promises not to tell anyone. When Michael meets E.T. he is shocked. At that very moment his little sister Gertie enters his room and starts screaming in fear when she sees E.T., so he starts screaming too. His mother arrives at the house and joins the screaming party by warning that she is already there, so Michael and Gertie hide in the closet with E.T. His mother scolds Elliott for the mess in his room and asks him to watch Gertie. Elliott tells his brothers that he wants to stay with E.T. and asks Gertie not to tell anyone. Gertie goes to Elliott's room and brings some things. While the brothers wonder what it is and where E.T. comes from, he asks them for a book on the solar system and shows them that it is from a place far away. He then revives a plant with his superpowers. The next day, Michael's friends tease Elliott about what happened the other night and he defends himself by replying that it is real, to which they forget that this was a children's movie and play a witty joke on him with the word Uranus. Mary, the children's mother, decides to go investigate Elliott's room when she sees them spending so much time there, but discovers nothing. At school, Elliott's teacher tells the class that today they will dissect a frog. At the same time, E.T. begins to investigate around the house and opens the refrigerator. Despite being an alien with a superior mind, he too forgets that this was intended for children and has a beer. At that moment, Elliott begins to feel the effects of alcohol, due to the fact that he developed a psychic connection with E.T. since he is a drunk kid. He does drunk kid things and releases some frogs. His classmates do it too and the class gets out of control. At that moment, E.T. sees a scene of John Wayne kissing Maureen O'Hara and Elliott does the same with his classmate, who had a crush on Elliott. Back at home, Mary and Gertie find the house a mess. The girl discovers that E.T. is learning to talk and Mary receives a phone call from the school telling her about the mess Elliott made in class and goes to look for him. Elliott returns home and discovers that his sister is in his room playing with E.T. She disguised him and tells Elliott that E.T. can talk now. He is shocked when E.T. points to the phone and tells the siblings that he wants to go home. While Michael and Elliott figure out how they can build a phone so E.T. can talk to his people, government agents keep a close eye on the children's movements. Elliott is injured by a saw and E.T. heals his finger with his powers. Later, the family gets ready to go trick-or-treating for Halloween, even going out with E.T. dressed as a ghost. His mother gets excited and takes a picture of them all together. On the street, they meet hundreds of kids in costumes and E.T. is excited to see one of them dressed as Yoda from Star Wars, points him out, and tells the kids he wants to go home. Elliott takes E.T. on his bike through the woods until the road gets rough and he proposes to continue on foot, but suddenly E.T. blows up the bike. Meanwhile, his mother is worried at home as her children are still not back, so she decides to go out and look for them. At that moment, government agents enter the house and discover information about what the children are planning. E.T. tries to communicate with his family and succeeds. Elliott falls asleep and when he wakes up, he discovers that E.T. is no longer there. While his family is desperately looking for him, he breaks into his house and asks Michael to please go find E.T. Michael heads into the woods and on the way notices that she is being chased by a blue car. He manages to free himself from them and arrives in the forest, but E.T. is nowhere to be found. After going through the sights more than once, he sees his friend lying next to a stream of water. They take him in their arms since he is very deteriorated and go to his home. Once there, they introduce him to his mother, who is frightened to see him. But she is even more frightened when she discovers that the alien's illness is also affecting Elliott. Suddenly, agents burst into their homes and mount a tremendous quarantine operation. They ask his mother hundreds of questions trying to get information about the alien and the psychic link her son has with it. But she doesn't know much, so it's his brother Michael who confesses to the agents that Elliott began to share feelings and emotions with E.T. The boy and the alien seem to be getting worse and worse, so the scientists do their best to keep them alive. One of the directors of the operation asks Elliott some questions about the alien, and he replies that they met at his house, plus his family is coming to get him. The scientist thanks him for everything he has done for the alien and tells him that the best thing that could have happened to E.T. is to have met a boy as good as him. The scientists discover that the alien has DNA and try to run some tests on it, but E.T. begins to deteriorate more and more. Michael returns to the closet where E.T. had been for several days and sees the plant that the alien had revived. Back in the medical room, the alien has lost all signs of life and the scientists do their best to revive him. The streets of the neighborhood are filled with people trying to find out what is going on, but the cops don't reveal anything. The scientists note that E.T. suffered a cardiac arrest. They tell Elliott that they will now take him away, and Elliott angrily says they will just cut him into pieces. The scientist leaves Elliott alone with his friend's body for a moment. As everyone walks out to leave them alone, Elliott asks him to forgive E.T. for what they did to him and tells him that he's probably dead because he doesn't feel it anymore. In tears, Elliott tells his friend that he loves him. But as he is leaving, he sees the flowers in the pot start to come to life again and runs to find E.T., who again lights up red in the chest and opens his eyes looking at Elliott as he tells him they are coming to get him. Elliott quickly pretends to cry so the scientists won't see that E.T. is alive. On his way out, Elliott runs into Michael and tells him what happened. Gertie takes the flowers to her mother, who finds a letter in which the children tell her about their plan. Elliott enters a van that Michael had infiltrated as a coroner. One of the agents approaches the vehicle and interrogates Michael while calling for backup. Michael starts up and they begin to escape. As they escape in the van, two forensic agents chase him hooked to a plastic tube. Their mother comes out in search of her children and Gertie innocently tells her that her brothers are carrying E.T. again at the escape scene. Elliott detaches the exhaust pipe and the scientists fall. The brothers continue to escape while being chased by an entire police operation. The children arrive at the arranged location with Michael's friends and they see E.T. getting out of the vehicle with the glowing light on his chest and are shocked to see him. Elliott gets out of the van and they proceed with the plan. The agents arrive at the scene and search the van but find no one. The kids flee at full speed into the woods with E.T. on board, but the cops start chasing them. As they flee, the cops intercept them and the kids split up in an attempt to lose them. When it looked like they were going to capture them, they begin to fly thanks to E.T.'s powers. Arriving in the forest, the group is stunned as they watch the ship descend. The children bid an emotional farewell to E.T. as his family leaves the ship. Elliott and his friend embrace tightly. Before leaving, E.T. tells Elliott that he will always be with him. The ship pulls away and leaves a trail of rainbows. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.